So true.
Welcome into the Toyota Lounge for the DNVR Avalanche podcast, powered by your Front Range Toyota dealerships. We're finally starting to get into, look, I don't want to say necessarily we'll hit on the guy who's going to go 24 today.
I feel like we will.
We might. We could get it right. I think it's possible. We're definitely going to talk about some guys that go before 24. We'll probably talk about some guys that go after 24. I think it'll be an interesting one for the draft today. Let me start by asking you this question.
Yeah, see, it's a teddy bear with a machine gun.
I do see that. That is fascinating. You can see his health bar, too.
Yeah. Oh, that guy, that's very helpful. Unreal.
Right now, without knowing who they pick, without knowing what they could possibly attain, should the Avalanche keep this pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the moment, I mean, yeah, I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say yes, too, where they're at. We talk about it all the time, the uncertainty of those two contracts, right? We don't have to go back to them. But also, they got depleted the last few years a little bit, and that's okay. You know what I mean? But I think where they're at, I keep it. You know what I mean? Just to add more to, and Guliev was the guy, but then you don't even know if he's coming, right? You know what I mean? And I'm talking about in the next 12 to 24 months, right? It's unknown. So maybe you draft another guy like that too that's not coming either. But I mean, somewhere, I think you just need to restock a little bit, right? You need to restock. And again, it's not a dagger. It's just reality. It's just they're a little depleted. So I keep it.
I would keep it as well.
I mean, unless they freaking give you
I think there's a world where maybe trading back makes sense. Yeah. But I think they should make a pick in the first round this year. I'll put it to you that way.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down for a trade back from 24 to 30, and you pick up a
second
round pick, late second rounder, whatever it's going to be. I'm always down with that. It's just, in the NHL, those deals just so rarely happen in the first round.
Yep.
After the first round, you always see,
wild stuff starts happening.
Teams are always trading. Oh, I'll give you this year's 6th round pick for a 6th next year, and then they just do that every year. Montreal.
Classic.
It's I would be down with that. I would be a little annoyed because I just haven't done
the research that
prospects 50 through 100 research because they don't pick again until 132,
and that is a crap shoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not even last
That's
year.
What I'm saying. There's no
the
chance.
5th round pick last year was Nikita Shimnikov.
Had 3 points in the KHL?
Even if I had spent an entire year doing my homework on guys, he wouldn't have been on my list
for sure.
That's my point.
They're gonna pick some random dude, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, well,
we're on the same page here.
Sick, yeah.
Well. Hopefully they keep 24 for our sakes, then, if nothing else. Look, the reality of a pick with 24 is there's going to be a lot of potential dudes there. And, and where I want to start is someone's going to drop. There will be someone ranked 5 to 10 places above the 24th overall pick that will drop to 24. Which one will it be? Do the Avs think he's the BPA? There's a ton of conversation that goes into that we can't possibly know. But there is a reason I put Igor Chernyshov as the guy in the title of this show. Chernyshov.
They tend to slip.
The Russian names I can't do, man. I just can't do it. In my opinion, if Chernyshov is there, you should take him at 24, no questions asked.
I love him.
Me too. I'm a sucker for a power forward, but I love him.
Yeah, and what I really like about Chernyshov, I guess we're just going to start here.
Yeah, just dive in.
But what I really like about him is that he does everything. He's a jack of all trades, master at none type. But he's not one of these guys that's feasting on NHL or VHL.
He's playing in the KHL.
He's playing in the KHL, and even when he was in the MHL, a lot of his production comes at even strength.
Yeah.
So it's not, he's not a guy that's just on a power play, just putting up power play points against MHL players. And in the KHL, lots of PK time.
I think that's the most impressive thing for me. As a teenager in the KHL, he's able to hold his own defensively. He's not a guy who kind of is throwing caution to the wind and playing only offense. And maybe more importantly than that, physically, he's able to hold his own defensively against men as an 18-year-old. So.
I like when guys play against men. I do, because it's an easier, when I say men, like older competition. Yeah.
We talk about it a lot with
not teenagers,
Swedes and Finns.
Yeah. I like it. I like it for a fact that it's less of a projection somehow. You know what I mean? Like it's more like, look what he's doing right now against,
26
stronger guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what impressed me about Celebrini this year too. Is 17-year-old playing against 24, 25-year-olds, right? And I think that makes it a little more easy to judge them. Because let's face it, the draft is you're judging. You're judging their talent. That's what you're doing. I guess you're trying to make your team better. Do we know? And I'll say something very stupid here because you guys are way more in touch with prospects than I am. But do we know his status, like contract status? Like, is it
who? Chernyshov?
Yeah.
Oh, it 1 more year.
Is it 1 more year though, or is it every Russian kid's got to stay here for 3 years now? It's
at the moment 1 more year.
That's sure, but that question hangs over every Russian in this draft.
I mean, it seems like they're all different too. Like
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, because Gulyev last year had 1 more year and immediately signed a 2-year extension after he got drafted. So you're kind of like, okay. And that uncertainty, of course, is one of the downsides of drafting Russian players in general right now.
Yep.
That's why they slide too.
It's also that in this Russian factor, part of it is also that teams have no control over their development.
It's true.
They have no control over which team they're going to play on. If they're going to play in the KHL, you're going to play the MHL, the VHL, whatever, right? Like, they have no control over any of that. They don't get any input into where they're playing. Is that guy going to play on their 5th line for
4 minutes a night or whatever?
He plays. You remember when they had Shivrev and it was like he would play literally
2.5 minutes a game, like,
and you're just like, what is the freaking point of this, man?
Yep.
So there's that uncertainty over every aspect of it. You don't know. You have no say over. And it's not that NHL teams are calling up junior teams and saying, make sure this guy does this. But, they have a conversation. They're like, hey, we'd love to see this guy over here.
For what it's worth, the Avs have never been afraid of that Russian factor.
No.
And historically have had a really good track record of getting those guys to come to North America.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit more checkered once they get here what happens, but
very true.
They do get them over here almost all of the time when they draft them. So if you're picking a team to be less concerned about that, I think the Avs are one of them. But also, to be honest with you, I don't think Chernyshov gets to 24.
Like Eric just said a minute ago, Russians slip.
They do.
And I think that we could see a few of them really slip this year.
You could.
I could see him getting to 24. For me, it's a pretty easy pick if he does.
Same.
He would just fit everything that you want out of a guy, and he could be a quick path to the NHL. If he doesn't sign
he has to come
an extension. If he comes over in a year.
You can see how he quickly gets the NHL for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's not a guy that I think would need a lot of AHL time.
Defensively responsible.
Yeah.
Can play the physical game at the pro level.
Physically mature right now. A guy that's 6'2", 195 pounds or around.
And has a play style that is, in theory, functional in an NHL bottom 6.
Yeah. Now, the question is, if you bring him over really quickly and you put him in that role when he's 19...
Can he handle it? Yeah.
Have you turned him into a bottom 6 player?
Sure.
Because you decided to put him there right away? Or is it he starts there and he works his way up?
Fair.
That's why, I'm not too familiar with the KHL. I say it all the time. very not comfortable with it in a sense. I don't know it enough. You know what I mean? Like, which is fine. This is where I get mad about Kovalenko. I wish, because we followed him so close, you know what I mean? Like, it would have been nice to see how he reacted, at the end of the year and then at the playoffs. And obviously the injury derailed that plan, but it would have been such an easy, for me, I'm being selfish here, platform to use to see, like, examples like we're talking about right now. You know what I mean? And even though Kovalenko is not 18 anymore, but just to compare how they do. This is what he was at that age when he got drafted. This is what he did after, 4 or 5 years now, Kobe?
Yeah.
And this is how he translates to the NHL. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just would have been a fresh, raw, like, example. Instead, we got that, that quick game there, you know what I mean, or two, and then it was like, okay, and then missed his assignment there, and then you never saw him again, right?
Now we'll find out next season.
That's my point. Yeah. So no, but I mean, for this draft, it would have been just for me, it would have been just a little easier.
For sure, I think that's fair.
And if we watched a lot of Kovalenko, you saw a lot of his teammate Nikita Artemonov, who is a bottom first round, top second round
in that range.
Yeah,
40 to whatever. Yeah.
Didn't we ask Bob about him? Didn't Bob talk about no?
Artemonov, no. Not my favorite.
I don't love him either.
He's just not my favorite.
There are other guys in that range that I would take.
Yeah,
put it to you that way.
Even if the board goes horribly.
Yeah.
There are guys that I would take. I'm taking Charlie Ellick or EJ Emery. Like I'm just biting the bullet on a limited defense first.
We'll get into that conversation a little bit. I'm pretty sure. Before that, though, I open up you guys. If you guys are looking for a faller beyond Chernyshov,
I think Trevor Connolly is an easy one to say. Just because based on talent.
Dude, I almost put him on my D&D list.
Yeah,
Which one?
Based on talent, Trevor Connolly.
Why D&D?
He's got a lot of off-ice stuff.
Yeah.
You can't be taking pictures with swastikas and shit, like it's
no bueno.
No bueno. Oh.
Yeah. This is always an interesting conversation because it's like stuff that you do when you're 16 years old. You're a dumbass.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you are a dumbass. I can tell you, I did dumb shit when I was 16.
I did dumb shit when I was 25.
I don't think it was that, but
Same.
You do dumb shit, and now you're 17, you're 18, and it's become a topic of conversation.
Yep.
I think that's hard, but also there are consequences. Playing in the NHL is a privilege. Being drafted in the NHL is a privilege, and there's a whole lot of kids that would love that opportunity. But when you just talk about a hockey talent, you ask me the question about a guy that's going to fall.
There's a reason that guy's going to fall.
Trevor Connolly as a player, for me, as a top 15 talent. But with all the off-ice stuff, it complicates it.
Well, then he'll slip.
Yeah, and it could be deeper than 24. Of course. Is this not like the perfect guy for Vegas to take at 19?
Yeah.
Like villain gonna villain?
Yep. Beyond the off-ice stuff, my one concern for Connolly is when I watch his game, I wonder if he's figured out a skill set that dominates junior hockey.
You do. I like that he dominated at Tri-City, though.
Sure.
And it was not at the USNTDP where he's surrounded by guys who are all going to get drafted.
Otherworldly talent, yeah.
Yeah, and that, even in Muskegon, you have two guys in Gregen and Boisvert that play off of each other. What?
Oh, that was one of my names.
Boisvert?
Yeah, we'll talk about him
for
but
sure. He's on the list.
That is like those guys amplify each other, right? And Trevor Connolly doesn't have that obvious, at least in terms of a draft pick, right around him that he's dominating with.
And that leads to a style of play where I don't know how to feel about it. He doesn't have the talent around him, so he has to do it himself a little bit more. But also, does that mean he now has a tendency to play a little bit of too much hero puck? Which, if you try to do that at the NHL level, you're in for a rude awakening.
You?
Yeah, I mean, you have to learn how to play the game.
For sure.
I really don't worry that much about Trevor Connolly's ability to play, his skill set. I think he's really good. Just when I watch him play, I'm like, this guy rocks. I love his game. But yeah, you do have the conversations about off-ice things and how you value that. Do you want to take that conversation? I always come back to. I remember. I remember Ryan Berkeley's draft year.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to various decision-making people around the NHL. And I always, back then, especially when I was around all the time and I was annoying people all the time, I would always have some conversations with guys about prospects just to kind of get a feel. And there were always conversations. I was always able to get conversations, right? But about Ryan Merkley, it just immediately, nobody would talk about him. It was immediately just like, no comment. I'm just not interested.
Yep.
I don't want to say anything about him. And I wonder if that's where we are with Connolly too, because I can't get a peep about him from anybody.
Because someone will take him at some point on the board.
Somebody will definitely take that chance.
Yep.
But it's interesting to me that even the people that I have relationships with are like, no.
Well, you might be willing to take a chance with the draft, but don't take a chance with your car. Make sure you go get yourself a Toyota at your local Front Range Toyota dealerships, whether it be trucks that have always been part of their DNA, like the Tundra, or any other options. They're SUVs. They have tons of different choices. The 4Runner, the RAV4. Of course, you can also get some of their sedans as well. They have high-performance vehicles with their GR series. They have a ton of other options, too. 17 different vehicles with four-wheel or all-wheel drive. If you're going out on to the off-roading lands in Colorado, which there are a ton of, make sure you're doing it in a Toyota. And they also have 16 different hybrid choices, too. So whatever you're in the market for, Toyota has the vehicle for you. Go visit your Front Range Toyota dealerships today, including but not limited to AutoNation Toyota in Arapahoe and Centennial, Corbin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche and the official vehicle of DNVR. And if you're saving up to make a big purchase like a car, make sure you're doing it with Westera Credit Union. 9 different locations here in the Denver metro area. They've been around for 90 years here in Colorado, so they know what's up. They know what they're doing a little bit when you've been doing something for 90 years.
Eric, what was it like when they opened?
Got them. Go.
I got it.
Go check them out. They just launched their Smart Money checking account, which gives you 6% annual percentage yield on your first $2,000 each month. And as your balance grows, so does your potential to unlock additional great rates for higher balances. They even have a rewards debit card that you can get your hands on with no monthly or maintenance fees. So make sure you are banking with Westera Credit Union. If you like earning money by doing the things you're already doing with your checking account, visit westeracu.com/martmoney for more information. Of course, membership eligibility required, insured by NCUA. Restrictions and conditions apply. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Eric, you said Boisvert was one of your guys.
On
Course, a Quebecer picking.
no,
a
I know,
Quebecer.
but you know why I like him?
Because his last name's Boisvert.
Well, yeah, no. Bois means wood, vert is green, so it's
There's an
wood
S.
green.
Boisvert.
Yeah, bois means wood, vert means green, so he's really green wood.
The factory meals that I eat for some reason refers to them by their French name, and I don't know why.
No, weird. You know what?
Yeah.
Unfamiliar path for him, right? You know what I mean? As a Quebecer, just like played in those like Cégep League, the Collège, I don't remember where Sly actually used to coach, Sly Lefebvre, before coming to the American League and stuff like that. It's in that league. And then, takes that path of going to the USHL, right? And then where's he committed? Nodak, I think, right?
Yeah.
Nodak, yeah. I like that type of stuff. Yeah, I do. You know what I mean?
I should have known you were going to pick this guy because you love goal scorers, and that's what he is.
I like what?
Goal scorers.
No, that's what I mean. No,
Yeah.
but big guy, like
For
right,
sure.
good body.
Can play with size, protects the puck super well.
I don't know. Like I like when guys go different paths. You know what I mean? Like it's not like the cookie cutter path from where I'm from. Because I was one of those guys. But you know what I mean? Like I'm just nothing against the Q or anything like that. That is not. It's just I like when guys decide to go at their own pace, at their own ways, and obviously it's working out for them. But is that a guy that would be considered like 24 for the Avs? Is that a guy that would be considered more like slipping? You know what I mean? I think it's more 24, right?
Not probably not as much of a faller.
Yeah.
As like
So-
a Chernyshov, but
Just for fun, old friend of the pod, Will Scouch over at Scouching,
yeah.
did a mock draft yesterday where Boisvert went 24 to the Avs.
There you go.
I hated it because Chernyshov was there,
You.
but
Lower? I mean, like later?
yeah, but he was one of the first guys that I really liked when I started really digging into my homework on this class. I like him. I don't love him. His skating is odd.
It's weird.
It looks funny, but it's effective. So I'm like, I can't hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a baseball player with a weird
If
swing.
it works type of thing, yeah.
But he hits 280, and you're like, okay. I mean, whatever.
Here,
Jeff Bagwell hit a lot of home runs. It looked like he was sitting on the toilet with his bat. Like, if it works for you, it works for you.
my one big problem with ranking him here is I really don't think he's a center at the next level.
I disagree. I do, but I don't. To me, he's a poor man's Anton Lundell type of prospect. I think he's smart. I think he's a good two-way guy. I don't like his offensive upside.
Yeah, the passing and the vision just isn't there.
Yeah,
And it's
the
really
playmaking's
hard.
not
it's
great.
really hard to be a Cy Young guy as a depth center in the NHL.
Well, and I wonder, I'm like, is he going to be kind of what Ross Colton was last year for the Avs, where you're like, he has to score goals to have value offensively? That is a lot of people.
And I actually really like the Ross Colton comparison, but I like the comparison to what Ross Colton was in Tampa Bay. Not really a center.
Yeah.
Well, he's the typical guy that, it says a C next to his name being drafted. But
Yeah.
I agree. I think you could see that, especially if he's going to
see that.
Yeah, see that. Like all of a
Very
sudden he's
clever.
going to become a winger.
Yeah.
You can see that. But then as his career gets later and later, people are like, oh, but he used to play, because, you're looking for a center, i.e. Ross. Oh, he used to play center, but he knows how to play center. He's a natural center. You know what I mean? Like you can make yourself believe all that, right?
Yeah, and it is one of the pitfalls of drafting these types of guys where you're like, oh, but he's a center. There's extra value in him being a center. Okay, well, if he doesn't stay there, then that value disappears. Is he better than the other guys? Are you going to take him? If he ends up a wing, is he a better prospect in your eyes than a Liam Greentree or Andrew Basha?
No.
Is he better than those guys if he's also
A winger.
on the wall?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but I would want to give him the opportunity. I would draft him with the idea of him being a center because I think he's a guy that could play on a PK in the NHL. He's got good size. I want him to try to be a PK guy for me.
It's easy to
I want
see
him
how
to
you
be
would like a good-sized defensive center. That's not a complicated conversation.
and that's where my value is with him is okay. I think he could be a really good 3C for me.
Sure.
And if you get really, really lucky, he's a 25-25 guy, and he's a low-end 2C for you.
I think you're.
I don't think
that
that's the
second
case.
25 would be a miracle, but
I think that's one of those. It's not so much what he does; it's guys that he gets assists off of rebounds.
some secondary stuff
Yeah,
going on there.
exactly. It's a lot of that noise. So, but with Boisvert, like he to me is kind of that like if the Avs draft him, I give the pick a 6 out of 10.
Sure.
I don't hate it. It's fine. All of a sudden, you have Cal Ritchie and Boisvert down the middle that you think, okay, there are some prospects here at center that you can get a little excited about. Mm-hmm. If that ends up being your third and fourth line centers in 2 years, you feel pretty good about that.
For sure.
Bye, Ross, or whatever position you're playing now. But
You're a winger now, bud.
yeah, it's too expensive for that.
I know.
Well, this year he's too expensive for that. And next year,
We'll see.
everything is very different. Yeah. But I do really like the idea. Take a center, take a defenseman, or take a wing that really, really fits. Like a Chernyshov. A guy that's going to be able to give you value if he does not max out as a top 6 player. A guy that you can envision saying, okay, this guy can help me in a bottom 6. I'm comfortable with this guy in a depth role. The way that you look at one of my favorite examples, when the Boston Bruins took Trent Frederick.
Yep.
They took him and they said, the guy's a train. But he's never going to be a very good offensive player. He's not going to be good enough to be a high impact guy, but he's going to be a really good depth guy, and he's going to be a guy that, a classic like playoff style guy, right? That you don't worry about the projectability into that kind of environment.
Why are you just describing Andrew Basha right now?
No. But with Trent Frederick, you knew what you were getting on draft day, and he's kind of like become that. So you say, okay, what's that guy? And to me, that guy's Jett Luchanko.
I love Jett Luchanko. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love him. I do think he's a little bit of a reach at 24. But
he's so the difference is that he's an Avs 3C and not like a Bruins 3C, where when the Bruins took Trent Frederick, you're like, that guy's a Bruin. But you look at Jett Luchanko and you're like, that guy's an Av.
Yep.
His name is Jet. And he skates like it.
I love his skating.
Very fast.
Super defensively sound.
A great defensive center today.
Right. That my biggest selling points are probably has a pretty short path to the NHL. Literally the only thing he really needs to do is put on 15 pounds.
Yeah.
And like you said, he looks like an Av right now.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
So easy to see him in an Avs jersey, the way he plays the game. I just don't know if you can justify taking a guy who you're talking about, his offense might cap out at middle 6 at best, like best case scenario.
Yeah, if he becomes a 4C, are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Like, at this point, I'll just take an NHL player out of an Avs first round pick.
Same, honestly, but...
Yeah, but you consider him at 24, or you consider him as a slippage?
Definitely not a slip guy for me.
Closer to a reach than a slip.
Yeah. I like if that's Luchanko's a guy where I'm like, hey, if they trade down to 28, 29, something like that, Luchanko's a perfect fit for me.
If you're trading down, I'd be like, you have to take Luchanko now.
I'd be all about that. I'd be very excited about it. But
It might.
I do wonder, he's small.
He is.
Is he going to be a guy that you really want in a postseason series? Taking on a top matchup, because that's a selling point. He's a great defensive center. You're a great defensive center. You don't want to go out there and just be great defensively against the other team's third line.
Yep.
You want to be able to handle a first or second line. You get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, you get into the second, third rounds, you're going to be playing against guys who are really good, but historically also pretty big. He's not that.
I do wonder, are you a little too small down the middle then with Middlestat and a Luchanko? And like, I get it. Middlestat's solid defensively. He knows how to work the game, and he can even be a little bit pesty, but he's not going to be laying hits on people.
Yeah, it's not going to be physical.
Yeah.
Between McKinnon, Middlestat, and then in this case, Luchanko, you're not physical down the middle at all.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
But that is
tough.
2027's problem.
But alternatively, if you are McKinnon, Middlestat, Richie, Luchanko.
How much does Richie add there? Yeah.
It doesn't change the fact that you're not very physical, but you are pretty damn talented.
Yep.
You are skilled in that way.
It's true.
That's an area that you feel pretty good about, and then whatever becomes of Ross Colton becomes of him,
Future's problem at that point.
Yeah. Ross Colton is not so good at what he does that you're just like building like this like future rosterbation that we're doing can't be built around but Ross Colton is there.
No.
Middlestat, yes. Yeah. Ross Colton, no.
It's tough. Picking 24th is tough.
Yeah.
Don't envy the position.
I'll let you do this first.
All right. As we continue looking at our possible picks at 24, make sure I don't know. Make sure your picks aren't baseball-sized hail or something. It's the best I got. I don't know. Make sure your roof is in good condition so you can house the pick safely underneath. How about
There
that?
you go.
Red Hawk Roofing.
If Mother Nature is getting physical with your roof.
Get the right pick.
There we go.
Nailed it.
Get the right pick.
Nailed it.
You know, this was a team effort, but we did it.
We got there in the end. Red Hawk Roofing, the most important thing is just to make sure that your roof is in good condition. And Red Hawk Roofing will give you a free inspection. They'll go up on your roof. They'll take pictures. They'll show you what's going on. It is the middle of hail season right now here in Colorado. So there's a good chance there's some damage. Hopefully there isn't. They'll let you know either way what's going on up there. And if you want to get your roof replaced, they'll take care of you at Red Hawk Roofing. They even are available 24/7. They have emergency services, so you can get with them and make sure your roof isn't having any problems, catastrophic or small. Either way, Red Hawk Roofing has your back over at redhawkroofing.com. They're another Colorado local company, so be sure to support local. We love them over here. You can give them a call at 720-771-8921 and tell them DNVR sent you to get that inspection all set up, whether it be your home or business. Get with Red Hawk Roofing. And once you've made your roof nice and sound, make sure you're getting in on a little bit of fun here in Colorado with ClutchBet. They have the most unique Colorado bets of any of the sports books out there. So get with ClutchBet. Even if you're not betting on Colorado sports, you have potentially the end of the Stanley Cup tonight. You can get in with insurance on first goal scorer and a parlay for the rest of the NHL season, whether it's over tonight or there are more games. ClutchBet has you covered with the NHL. Make sure you sign up with code DNVR250 to get a 100% first bet match up to $250 in bonus bets paid over your first 5 weeks with ClutchBet. Download that ClutchBet Sportsbook app today and use that DNVR250 code, and be sure to keep an eye out for other great promotions on teams like the Rockies, the Broncos, the Avs, and the Nuggets throughout the year. Of course, you must be 21 or older and located in the state of Colorado. Gamble responsibly and call 1-800-GAMBLER if you or someone you know needs help.
Can I just interject real quick?
Go off.
AJ just constantly, sometimes during your ad reads, looks like he's being pummeled by like a poltergeist or something. The way he just like looks around and like
Something was casting a shadow on the middle of my leg,
yeah,
and I
it's
was
a goddamn
like,
poltergeist.
I was like, is that my leg? Like, is the middle of my leg gray, or is this a medical concern, or is this just a shadow? So I was moving it around. It's a shadow.
It's just
fine.
Good.
These are just things that you notice while Rudo's like doing it, because you're just like sitting there for a second, and then you just start like you're looking around like freaking Elisa Lamb at the Cecil Hotel or something.
Oh, that's very specific.
Let's get into the defensive conversation. The two defensemen in this range that are nearly inseparable for me are Alec and Emery.
Yeah. Chat wants to bring up Solberg.
I don't love Solberg.
So, Eric, I want to ask you about a guy like Solberg first, okay? So, Stian Solberg. He is widely ranked and thought of as a second-round pick.
Okay.
Okay? He has an okay year in Norway. He's good at what he's good at and not good at anything else. He's big. He's very physical. He's got good size. Great. He goes to World Championships and has a good 2 weeks, and now he's the middle of the first-round pick. What the hell? What the hell?
I don't. If you ask me, like, I don't judge, and I would not judge anything on World Championships. That's me. Always been my thing. I think we talked about it that one time.
Yeah.
It is not my jam. Not at all, actually, because it's a slippery slope, and it's not real. I think some guys take it seriously. Some guys don't take it seriously. Some guys are there on vacation. Some guys are there for their country. It's hard. I wouldn't put any stock on it. I mean, Kevin Lankinen, a few years back, he was a freaking man. And I'm not saying Kevin Lankinen is a bad goalie. I'm saying, but Kevin Lankinen is not winning the Vezina in the NHL. You know what I mean? But people were going nuts over there, like, oh, Kevin Lankinen got to be a start. No, he's not. Like, he's a secondary guy. So I would be careful with those guys like you're talking about right now, in the sense that, oh, he has a great World Championships. Now he's like, oh, mid-first round. If we're sitting around a table right now and I'm part of it and I'm sitting there and I'm telling you, I raised the point right away. I don't want to hear about world championships. I don't. You know what I mean? Because I just, I'm not putting any stock in it. You know, and then, I just feel that when it comes down to something like that, you have to trust. And when I say trust, is your European guy, right? That usually makes those calls on a player in Europe. You know, what's his batting record?
Yeah.
For me, that's big, that's big. And it's not about being an a-hole, but you can go back when you've been together for years and you go back, whoa, well, that's like that pick, so-and-so 4 years ago. And you're like, you were saying the same thing. And then let the guy freaking swim now. And how does he get out of his argument? You know what I mean? But those guys are the slippery one. And when I say slippery, like touchy ones, you know?
Yeah. My thing with Solberg is, before World Championships, did you think he was a first-round pick?
No.
And if the answer is no, did 2 weeks at Worlds change that for you?
It didn't for me.
Because you go and you look at the video of him at Worlds, he's great.
Yep.
He really is. He's great.
Super
I went
good
and watched
player.
all those games. He was great. Why wasn't he great in Norway? That's not a very good league.
It is not.
This is not like Brandtzig Nygaard, who's also Norwegian, but played very well in Sweden.
Yep. A high-end pro league.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
There's a
real
reason that guy is going to be drafted in the top 15.
Yep.
You want to talk about a guy if that guy fell?
Oh God, don't even, dude.
Toronto would take him at 23.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, but with like with Solberg, I would ask the European scout. I would say, where did you have him before Worlds?
Yep.
So does 2 weeks at Worlds completely erase the rest of the year? Does it overrule the rest of the season?
For
When
me,
you're,
no.
when you're trying to evaluate a guy like this, because guys that always finish strong, look at a Beckett Seneca.
Yep.
Finishes strong, has a good end of the season, and now all of a sudden people are like, he's a top 15 guy, maybe top 10.
Sam Dickinson, same thing.
A
kinda
little
happened to him.
rich for my blood, but I mean, if Beckett Seneca goes 15,
I'm perfectly fine at 15,
If he
yeah.
goes 9, I'm going to be annoyed.
Toyota chat also mentioning Adam Jiricek.
Yeah. Jiricek's way different just because the injury issues and it like uneven season before then.
It was a really weird year for him.
It was a bad year.
Yeah.
Because he was a guy that it was, especially given how well his brother had played and how similar their games are.
Yep.
You're looking at it going, well, the same profile is translating very nicely to pro hockey in North America so far. Easy
Until
sell.
his knee exploded, and now you don't know if he can skate still.
Yeah, and skating was not a strength of his to begin with.
Yeah.
So, you know, if he loses, say you're grading it on the baseball 20 to 80 scale, and he was a 40 skater before and he's a 30 skater now, is he still a first round pick?
Can he
That's
still
tough.
function at the NHL level at that point?
That's tough.
Yeah.
Because skating was not really a big strength of his. So with Solberg, I'm just like, I'm annoyed because I look at it and I'm like, at 24, I'm not going to feel
the worst pick in the world.
I'm not going to feel so strongly about it, but that's a 5 of 10. Maybe a 4 of 10.
I don't know if you're at 24 and he's available and one of Alec and Emery are available. I don't know how you can take him over Alec or Emery.
Either one, any of those three guys do you feel really confident that any of those three guys are long-term top 4 difference makers in the NHL?
No, my favorite of the bunch is Alec, but I'm not confident any of them have the offensive side to get there.
I can't comment. I'm not familiar enough with those. You know what I mean? Like to compare them. You know?
The defensive defenseman archetype in the NHL, it's valuable. You need guys that can do that. But how many purely defensive defensemen are in a top 4 in the NHL?
I would say this. I think looking at those guys, I look at Alec, and stylistically, I see a guy really similar to Josh Manson. And we've seen with Josh Manson, if you let him off the leash a little bit, there's just enough offense there where he can be a guy that in a healthy year could maybe give you 35, 40 points.
For sure.
If Alec can get there,
I will take 25 from that archetype. I'll take 25 if the defense is excellent.
sure. It's just
But it has to be Chris Tanev level. He's got to be my matchup eraser.
And
he's got to be the guy that I'm sending out against the top the top forwards and saying, I am confident he's going to do well.
And that's why I would take Alec of the bunch. I think Emery's probably the best rush defender. Struggles a little bit in his own zone. Alec, good rush defender.
Struggles a little bit in the offensive zone.
That too, but there's all of them aren't the best in the offensive zone. Yeah. I think Alec is better offensively than Emery, but I also think he's a better in-zone defender. I've seen him defend well in the rush, but why I'm really sold on Alec over Emery, and this is like Alec's 23, Emery's 24. Like, it's not a big gap, but he's shown he's capable of defending net front a lot more intelligently than Emery does. There's a physicality there too, of course, but Emery, a lot of the time, you'll see him get a little bit caught out of position. And Alec found a way, particularly at Worlds. And again, I don't want to put too much stock in Worlds, but for a guy in the WHL who at times just ran around like a crazy man, Alec showed he can sit back a little bit and have a little bit more of a composed game.
That's the conundrum with Alec is that his WHL, he's all over the place.
Yeah.
You can envision him as a Josh Manson.
Yeah. He's
getting up the ice. He will attack with the puck. It doesn't always go very well. You're not looking at him going, "Oh my God."
It's Josh Manson.
Yeah. it's sometimes it's completely unhinged, but he's got that mentality, and then he kind of caged the animal a little bit.
Yeah.
When he got in on the international stage.
Yeah.
And with Alec, you love the tools, you love the size, you love the physicality, the aggression, whatever. Of those three guys, Alec's my guy. Like,
Same.
I like Alec. If
he's
you
also
put
a right
him,
shot, if that means anything to you, but
what's that?
he's also a right shot.
Oh,
if
yeah.
people care. Yeah.
If you have Alec, Emery, and Solberg kind of in the same cluster, there's a couple of other guys. There's two other guys that I am particularly that I will give thought of to here, and one of them is Dominic Padinka.
Sure.
And the other is Alphonse Frey. Frey was in my piece yesterday. He looks like an Avs defenseman to a T.
I see. Our friend of the show, Evan, is all about Frey.
Yeah,
in the chat.
to a T. Frey is. You don't find a smoother skating defenseman in this class than Frey.
Of course, AJ loves the smooth skating defenseman. I should have known.
The thing, but he's good in both transition, offensively and defensively. Mm-hmm. That's a really important aspect for me. In
As
the
an
NHL,
Avs defenseman, especially
in the NHL in general, it's important. But in Colorado, it is really important.
Yep.
You have to be able to defend in transition. And for all the hate, I say hate, for all the criticism that we give to Jack Johnson, that guy holds the blue line pretty well. He does a good job denying zone entries, controlled zone entries.
Everything after that becomes a problem.
It's pretty much literally everything beyond that, but he does that well. And it's important. You can float at the NHL level in Colorado if you can just do that.
Yep.
But you skate the way that Frey does. He's got good size. He's going to get stronger. Frey is the kind of like, there's nothing sexy about it. You're never going to put this guy on a power play, but I don't know that you're going to put him on a PK. So when you do compare him to the Emery, Solberg, Alex, those guys they have to be on a PK. Otherwise, why did you draft them?
Agree.
They have to be on a PK. Alec reminds me a lot of Caden Goulet, who I loved.
I loved him in his draft year too.
So, and the fake trade piece that I put out today.
Is it out?
It is.
Go read it.
Originally included a Caden Goulet deal, and then I was just like, I don't want to fight with this. We're just gonna move away from it.
Yep.
But anyway, not the point. Do go read that, please. This is really a pick your poison defenseman class at 24.
Yep.
And it's, do you want to try and pick one of these forwards, like a Jett Luchanko, whatever, Chernyshov, pick a guy. I don't care. Andrew Basha. Do you want to pick one of those guys, or do you want to target one of these defensemen that's going to be specific for you? Because, yes, your organization needs an Alec, a Solberg, or an Emery. It needs that kind of big body, physical guy. But also, you look at them and you're like, these are the most limited guys in this group. They are by far the most limited.
For sure. There are plenty of other really revving that engine out there.
Yeah. Cool dirt bike. Oh, he's serious about it. God, you gotta love Colfax. I'm gonna miss this.
Yeah, it really depends on what you want. I do have a question for Eric for this, but first, all right. Eric, when you're sitting at that table, when you're looking for best player available, how does the argument go of offense versus defense on a guys like this? If you're comparing a Frey to a Ellick, who wins out over the defense is more important? Oh, the offense is more important. And I'm sure it's specific room to room, but
Yeah, the loudest voice. No, I'm kidding.
I'm sure that's true some of the time.
But sometimes we'll get pushed. I know, you're right. I mean, it's
Someone
like life.
put Perek in the top 5 on this podcast.
Yeah, it's it's not the loudest voice, but here's what I'll say is, I think, and I was just about to say something before you asked me that question. It's more, how can I say this? In juniors, and I'm not bashing junior hockey, for example, but you see them at the World Junior stage, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, he was more under control. You know what I mean? Player X doesn't have to be anybody we just talked about, but all of a sudden, like when they go back to their junior team, they're all over the place. Their plays erratic. It's everywhere. A lot of, Matt Duchene's a perfect example. For example, he's not a defenseman, but playing 45 minutes a night in juniors and you're just cheating. And, I mean, it's just, you're not playing hockey.
He scored 100 points and his P60 is 1.5, and it's like,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not playing hockey. You're cheating and you're getting points on the board. And coaches are, I get it. They're trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get promoted too, and then get to the NHL somehow. It's how do you do that? By having success, right? And I get it. So it's a vicious circle. Now some players, you see them play, and you're like, that's why you can't judge a guy on one viewing. And I'm not saying us. I'm saying these teams. It's multiple viewing. It's 15, 20 crossovers. Add them all up. You're at 40 viewings in 1 year. You're at 50, 60 in a couple years. And then you form an opinion of what you just asked. You know what I mean? Like, well, that takes over. You know what I mean? And that makes him a better, because he'll be a better pro because he can move the puck better than Mr. X does. You know what I mean? And then that's what wins the argument. But you have to differentiate. Is he just a wild man all over the place and just a dumb bag of rocks? Or is he just playing junior hockey? You know what I mean? Like, then he's going to be able to adapt. You know what I mean? And I think somewhere that's why when you see those competitions, like the World Juniors and those, high-end games, and again, maybe not those low-end games, but the high-end games, you're like, oh my God, he's playing so much better. He plays better with better players. And I always say, and I tell you guys all the time, it's easier to play a game in the National Hockey League than it is to play in the American League. It is.
Way more
because
structured.
Guys know where they're going. Guys are exactly where they're at. American League, I call that tryout hockey. You want to see bad hockey? Go see youth hockey tryouts. Freaking everyone's all over the place doing their own thing, and the dad said get noticed, and you know what I mean? And it's like, what? What is that? So I think you have to see a lot of, many viewings on the guys, and then you have to really identify what makes them a prospect. You know what I mean? And if it's the puck moving, then it's like, okay, well, we value puck moving. Some teams will value puck moving more than tenacity or whatever it is. Yeah, I'm just using two different examples, but and some teams will value tenacity more than puck moving. You know what I mean? And then that argument would win. You know what I mean? With the loud voice.
AJ put out a piece yesterday of 5 potential prospects at pick 24.
It's mostly about just good fits, not like
Go read that, first of all. Go check out the DNVR for all of our written coverage. There's
Could
also
have
video
cheated
coverage.
like Evan did and put out 15 of them.
Just all of them.
Yeah, and just be like, all right, here's all these guys.
Well, we're going to
One
put
of
out
them.
more than
Make
that.
some choices, Evan.
Are we not going to put out more than that pretty soon? I mean,
Yeah, yes.
so.
At some point.
But one guy you had on that list, and one guy who I've fallen in love with because he's one of the guys I've been looking at, is Andrew Basha.
Yeah.
Oh man, do I love to watch that kid skate.
You want to talk about transition? As much as we can love Jett Luchanko, Andrew Basha is an electric skater, but way better offensively, way more talented. I like that. Good size, great speed. I don't know that there are a lot of avenues of success for him. He skates really fast and can get around guys.
How much does that work at the next level? Yeah.
Or he goes to the net, which you obviously love, but he does not score beyond that. There's no shooting from distance. This is not a guy that you are going to confuse
for sure
with Andre Burakovsky or Oliver Bjorkstrand. That's not what you're getting. You are getting a rush player.
It's a rush player, but the thing that really sold me on him is he spent his first 2 years as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, I guess 15, 16, whatever.
Yeah, his first 2 years in
he was
the
a
WHL.
bottom 6 guy in the WHL, and he quickly learned how to be that guy who motor all the time, always running into every event. He works hard along the boards. He does a lot of the things where you can see him working in a bottom 6 role in the NHL mechanically. How high is that offensive ceiling at the NHL level? I don't know.
My concern is, are you accidentally drafting a less physical Miles Wood?
That's a fair concern.
He's very fast.
Is he Miles Wood or is he Logan O'Connor?
I mean, you're getting
similar.
you're getting the same point totals in a slightly different package.
Yeah.
Yep.
But either way, you're talking about that's a hard bottom 6 guy.
For sure. If you're taking a swing, he's not the guy you take.
Well, and this is something that I wanted to ask you at the end of period 2.
Sure.
Are the Avs best served just swinging away? Or are they best served taking a lower ceiling, higher floor? A guy that you're more confident, like a Basha, I think, plays in the NHL.
Me too.
His experience playing the checking role, it's obvious that it had an impact on him. It's obvious he took to it. And on a really good team with some superstar talent that's going to get drafted very highly this year and next.
For me,
he still stands out, though.
For me, the higher ceiling guys, I think, are more what the Avs should be targeting mechanically as a team. Because let's be honest, most of your top 6 is filled or will be filled aggressively in guys that are already in the NHL. Obviously, McKinnon's not going anywhere. Not expecting Rantanen to go anywhere, and if he does, that position will be immediately filled by whatever you move out or move in for him.
Because you'll have a lot of money and you'll spend it.
Middlestat, you're expecting at least a reasonably long-term deal to be signed.
I just keep saying minimum of 3 years.
Yeah.
Just expect him a conservative estimate of 3 years.
So, but you're putting all these pieces together, and you don't draft for your team now. You draft for your team in the future. But the Avs' future looks like a top 6 that's still going to be reasonably full. Now, I'm happy drafting a guy that is high ceiling and maybe, there's some upside here that if everything goes well, he reaches that level. That's what you should be looking for. But I don't think the Avs need to be taking these boomer bust swings right now with where their organization will be in about 3 or 4 years.
Would you rather have Oskar Olausson or JJ Peterka?
I mean, that's not fair conversation, but obviously Peterka.
I'm saying because Oskar Olausson is the guy that you want in your top 6, because beyond your top 6, you don't have a home for him.
Fair.
But JJ Peterka is a guy that you can have anywhere in your top 12. He can do anything that you need. He can be a little bit of everything. Which brings me to my last guy. Teddy Stiga time. Teddy Stiga, an eat your heart out level competitor. You're drafting just an absolute warrior first and foremost. But a guy with some skill. And depending on who you talk to, it could be a lot of skill. It could be bleh skill.
Yeah.
I think the day that you draft him, you should be saying we're drafting a third line wing. And
he becomes more than that great. Yeah.
That's where if I'm putting Teddy Stiga versus Jett Luchanko and I say I'm drafting a third line center or a third line wing. That's tough, but I also want Teddy Stiga because he's the guy that you ride into battle with every single time.
Well, Ryan sold me on him last week. You know what I mean? Like
he sold me on all those guys during that interview.
Well, that's he seems to be like a little pit bull, a little warrior.
Well,
that's exactly.
It's a really good point I think the Avs, if they're playing, call it a safer, higher ceiling pick, whatever, or higher floor pick, they should be targeting guys like that because we've seen them have a track record of picking the safe guy who's plays a smarter game, who maybe is a little more. I'm talking about Martin Kaut, obviously.
Martin Kaut and Shane Bowers.
Yeah, they don't know what to do with them. They don't know what to do with those guys.
Yep.
They know what to do with the hair on fire, will fight everybody on the ice type of guy.
Yeah.
They can get that guy to the NHL like a Logan O'Connor. Obviously, they actively targeted Miles Wood in free agency. Mm-hmm. It's obvious that the organization understands those guys a little bit more.
Definitely.
So from that,
there's certainly a comfort level of how to develop this guy.
Yeah.
Which is one reason why it's like, do you know what to do with Cal Ritchie? All the excitement about what's happening with his development in his first year. Like, do you know what to do next with him? Yeah, you move him in a deal before you screw this thing up. But with Teddy Stiga, you send him to college for 2 years. He goes out there. He makes a WJC team. He fights some international kids, at WJCs. He becomes a fan favorite before he ever gets here. And then he goes and he fights Braden Shen in his first game in the NHL. And you're just like, I love this guy. This guy's out of his goddamn mind.
let him go be a crazy dude.
That sounds delightful to me. But also his skill set fits Colorado. He can skate. He's got physicality. You're looking for that. You have no Gabe Landeskog. You have no Val Nichushkin. You're looking for a little bit of that. Doesn't have that kind of upside, in my opinion.
Same.
But could be a much better two-way player than you're getting out of a Miles Wood right now.
I'm
You're
not
going to need a Logan O'Connor replacement. Sorry, Megan.
You do. I'm not as big a fan of Stiga. I would look at a couple of other guys before him if they're there, but
he definitely feels like if the board falls a certain way.
If the Avs end up with 24 and Stiga's there and they take him, and it's not like they skipped over Chernyshov or something, I'm cool with it.
6 of 10.
Yeah.
That's the thing with high floor guys on draft day. They don't get you like crazy excited about, oh my God, this guy could be such a good NHL player, but could end up being a perfect glue guy for you in a playoff run.
Yep. One crazy theory that won't happen for a number of reasons, but I have to bring it up just because people have been talking about it. Did the Avs learn a crazy lesson from putting Jonathan Drouin back with Nathan McKinnon? Find a way to get Beckett Seneca and just keep him and Cal Ritchie together forever.
So what you do is you re-sign Jonathan Drouin. You sign Jeff Skinner when he gets bought out, and you can put him back with his junior teammate, Gabe Landeskog. And then you find a way to draft Beckett Seneca, and it really is about the friends you made along the way.
Homies.
Perfect.
Homies.
All
Yeah,
homies.
at that point, it's just team homie. You're no longer the Halifax homies.
We got the Oshawa homies now.
Yeah.
The Kitchener homies.
We go with the Kitchener kids.
The Kitchener kids.
And
There
we
you
can put
go.
Jamal Murray on there, too.
Oshawa OGs.
It's really all about our branding.
Honestly, that's what we're really here for. Eric, does it really just come down to where the Avs see the best player then? Is this, have we gone too deep again on, this fit and that guy and he does the, is it just, this guy's better than the rest of them, take him?
That's it. That's what it comes down to. And I think if you're looking at those lists, like even I was just looking at Stiga, like anywhere from 24 to 50. Like
Yeah.
Some I'm talking about the people that put up
Luchanko's the
lists
same
like-
way.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like
That is
so I would say
in
maybe
the eye of the beholder.
maybe 15 to 40. You could have like,
It could go wild for sure.
oh yeah, like you know what I mean. And I think teams, like I always say, they make their list, and then when it's that high of a pick, you know what I mean. Like, 24 is still a first round pick. It's not a seventh round.
There are
pick.
going to be
Like,
200 plus players selected,
Yeah.
and only 23 of them go before you.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a good player.
He's a good player,
Unless
and I
you
think
screw
you
up.
refer to your list as best player available. That's what I always say. I'll say it again: best player available. You go to your list and you work too hard at that list.
To deviate.
16 months to deviate, and I think that's where you make mistakes. I'm just a firm believer of the list, so there's no question to ask. You go, and again, I'll say it again. That's where you see those GMs in the late first round or even in the second round because they say, well, we had, Rudo was a first rounder. It's not a cliche. It's true. It's on their list. They had him at 24, and then they picked him at whatever. It wouldn't be realistic this year because the Avs don't have a second round pick. But
130.
Whatever. People are like, realistically, we walked out here with 3 first rounders. It's true according to
the
their
Avs had
minds.
Connor Timmins as a mid first rounder that year.
There you go. That's kind of what I'm saying. So
For example.
people think it's like cliches. Oh, look at that. It's not a cliche. That's their list. They worked at that for so long. Over a year, sometimes multiple years, just because of the celebrities of the world. You've known they've been coming for. Yep. Not everyone's a late blue like Iginla. All of a sudden, his stock rises. There's guys in there that they've been looking at for a few years. Especially with those tournaments now, the U18s, all those things, and you see guys. You know what I mean? NDDP, U17. So they're familiar with guys. They work on their lists, and I think you can deviate from your list. You can.
You got to trust the process, and our process is we are going to be back tomorrow. We do got to wrap this show up.
Process.
We appreciate all y'all hanging out. We'll be talking more draft. We'll be talking more free agency over the next couple of weeks. Reminder, get your roasted rosters ready. Put them in this weekend, and we will be doing them early next week. So make sure you put DNVR in the title over on Cap Friendly. Make whatever free agency signings and trades or whatever you want. We'll pick our favorites and talk about them on the show early next week.
I'll hit up the Rizzler and see when he's available.
There you go. We'll get the Rizzler to show up in studio again. We appreciate y'all, and we will talk to you on the next one.
We all silly like the mayor.